Are we actually going to have a podcast episode today?
Yes.
Yay!
What a journey it's been. What a journey.
It's okay. A
Just
hero's journey.
FYI, everyone, because of me, we're recording at 9 p.m. on a school night. So, because I'm just not good enough.
No.
I'm just not good enough.
I refuse to let you speak of yourself this way.
Okay. Well, let's get into it.
Let's just do it.
Let's get into it.
Are you ready? Are you loose? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Maddie. Welcome to Baddy Breakdowns, where we hang out, have fun, and play games all the way to the end. Today we're going to talk about Bloody Hell. We'll give you the breakdown from its creation to its critical reception, and then we'll take you on a deep dive into the game as we share our own experiences and opinions while playing it. We'll close with if we recommend it, who we'd recommend it to, and our personal rating for the game. With that, let's go to hell.
I was hoping that's how you'd read it.
I like that you added
10
that.
out of 10.
Okay.
All right, I have description today. So, Bloody Hell, it was new, released this January. It's a short but sweet game about an angel on a bloody bullet hell mission to kill Satan. Dash, double dash, grapple and blast your way through hell to fulfill your holy mission. Will you be able to kill Satan?
Nope.
Or will you fail to master your abilities and die in this bloody hell? That was the Steam description for y'all. I felt like it was written pretty well, so I liked it. But it's TLDR of what the game really is. It's a bullet hell, Metroidvania-ish, where you unlock utility, like gated exploration. I don't know. It's lost all meaning to me at this point, whatever a Metroidvania is. I actually read about it more before this because I was like, is that really what it is? It is. It's fine. But you're a little bird, and God has sent you to kill evil Satan. It's challenging, it's free, and it took me about 4 to 5 hours to finish, I think. And so it is really short and sweet, and you will die a lot, especially if you're me and Maddie.
And me.
So Maddie, I think you have how it's made today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my surprise. I have been feeling like when I get this section, you go so extra, and I wanted to do good. And when I started Googling, I couldn't find a ton.
Mm-hmm.
It is a student game.
Right.
So there's not a ton online.
Mm-hmm.
So I poked around their Discord.
Oh, you joined the Discord.
And I actually interviewed the devs via Discord.
You interviewed the devs?
Yeah!
Maddie, that's so cute!
Yeah!
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Oh, that is so extra, and I love that for us.
So, exclusive to our podcast also.
That's right.
NBD, we're getting the scoop from the 3 devs themselves.
That's so awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool. I love that.
Okay. The first question that I asked them was what inspired them to create the game, and if there is a particular idea or experience that sparked the concept. So the 3 devs that I'll talk about are Berend, Dion, and Gus. Goose. They're from the Netherlands, and inspiration is that it was a school project.
Oh.
So the reason that they wanted to make the game is the 3 of them had been talking about creating a studio after they graduated, and they thought that this school project was a really good opportunity to kind of start doing that.
Yeah.
And they also wanted to get attention for their future studio post-graduation.
Oh, yeah.
And
is that why they made it free?
And that's a big reason why they made it free, is because they wanted to get their names out there.
Yeah.
And the studio is pun intended.
Yes, I liked that name.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. And they really didn't expect it to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
They thought maybe they would get 50 reviews on Steam, max. Really didn't think that it would be a thing. And it really blew up. So it's been a really fun experience for them. And they've just been really shocked and also happily surprised by the attention that it's getting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's
I
awesome.
thought that was cute.
And it's also not anything that you'd expect from a college project you make, right? Like, if I'm making a project for school, I'm like, this is going to go into the bins. Nobody's ever going to look at this crap. So the fact that so many have, like, is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the whole project, and I don't know if I want to drain the whole thing, which I have written down.
Yeah.
So I was thinking we would put the full interview on our website.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing to mention is that they wanted to do a unique bullet hell game.
Mm-hmm.
And they had come up with this angel going to hell concept. I think it was Barrand is what they said, made the concept in a 3-day game jam project he had kind of started. And
so this came from one of the game jams. That's fine.
They had built on top of that. They really wanted to just make it a full-fledged game.
Well, they did. They did.
And they did.
Yeah. And
it took them about 10 weeks to make the prototype or beta version of the game, and they didn't like it. And they completely scrapped it.
You know what? Good for them. Good for them for being flexible and willing to swap it up.
Yeah. And the second version that we play took them 5 months to make, which I still think is super impressive.
That's so impressive, especially since I felt like it was pretty fleshed out as a full game. You know what I mean? That's very surprising to me.
Yeah. And their main design goals for the game were that they wanted exploration to be fun and combat to be satisfying. Like challenging but satisfying. And the original beta took place in a big bathhouse in hell. And the demons would be bathing in blood.
I'm so sad I missed that.
And they had pig demons that were wearing towels.
Ugh.
And they didn't really end up liking the environment to stick with it.
Yeah.
And that's what they had kind of scrapped.
That would be a hilarious DLC,
But what
though.
they kept from that was the first boss.
That's what I wondered.
Pork chop? What was it?
Pork chop.
Yeah. So I thought that was really fun.
I love that so much. And also, I love that you went and found them on the Discord, going undercover. Not undercover, but...
No, I told them it was for this podcast. I said I'll send them the link when we post it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Hi, devs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question that I asked is, how was the development process and what technology they used for the development process? The technology they used Unity, which you see on the screen.
Right.
And they also had their sound design in Fmod, which I've not heard of, but...
I've seen Fmod screens at the beginning of many games, so that feels familiar. I don't know what it is, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the art, they used Sprite.
Oh, that's not how you say it.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't. Tell me, how do I say it?
I guess I don't know how to say it either. It's the A Sprite. Is it not just like A Sprite?
A Sprite?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we used it when we made a little fake game, a fake casino game.
Cool.
Yes, people made pixel art, and that's what a lot of them used. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And from a role perspective, everyone did a little bit of everything, but Dion was the main artist, Barrand was the main dev, and Gus was doing a bit of both, supporting both. And then all three of them were responsible for game design.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun. And they said that having the roles mixed was really fun for them because typically when they're going to school, they have to specialize in a certain thing.
Oh.
And so this was a nice way for them to, well, I mean, like, right? Like you specialize in a thing.
Yeah.
But this was a way for them to kind of do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Dion also does some marketing stuff. So he's the one that's posting on Twitter and Reddit and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's fun. The thing that I like about games so much and the idea of developing games is there's so many different skill sets that you have to have in order to make them happen. And I didn't think about it. I've always thought about it from like a solo dev perspective on, oh my God, I'd have to conquer so many skills. But I didn't think about how it might be a little sad to only sit there and look at one part of it the whole time, and getting to try out all of them, I'm sure was nice.
Yeah. The next question I asked them is what they hoped players would take away from the game.
What a good question.
And they said that they really just wanted people to enjoy it and think of it fondly. It was super wholesome.
That sounds wholesome.
And if players get a deeper message as they're playing it, they want people to interpret that the way they want to interpret that and kind of leave it up to them and they didn't want to box anyone into a certain interpretation. Gus and Dion were the main people who were responding in the thread, but Dion mentioned that he also wanted people to enjoy the hidden areas and find the hidden areas. And he hopes
some
that people...
very good news for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then lastly, I was like, did you get an A?
Well, did they?
And yes, they got a zeer good, which is Dutch for very good, and is the highest grade that you can get.
Perfect.
On
I was going to say, if they didn't, I would have some serious words for some teachers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then lastly, I did also ask them what games they were inspired by. And they took a lot of inspiration from games like Enter the Gungeon, Hollow Knight, Hyper Light Drifter, and Dark Souls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of funny and leads into critical reception.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and then yes, just for everyone listening, we'll post the full transcript of our conversation on our website.
Yeah. Awesome. Maddie, so valuable. Look at you. So that is actually a fun lead-in, because a lot of the critical reception that I saw actually compared this game a lot to Enter the Gungeon, Hollow Knight, and so they definitely hit the nail on the head there, and they saw that come back. I haven't played either one of those games.
I played Hollow Knight.
Okay, yeah.
Which is just the gated progression stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So like when you see the areas and you're like, okay, so there's a double jump coming.
Yeah.
That
makes sense. Did they have, I had read somewhere.
Hollow Knight's also quite challenging.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer my question, so we're going to cut that out.
Sorry.
No, you're good. The other kind of feedback that they had for it, I guess, first off, overwhelmingly positive. It had over 1,000 reviews, again, for this little game out of school. That's crazy to me. Like, that's awesome. The main reviews were around the fact that it was free. So I wrote down some of them, but the vibe was pretty much like, can I please pay you? Can you make a DLC where in which I pay you? Or my favorite one was, what gives you the right to make a bloody good game like this and then have the gall to give it to us for free? Which is hilarious to me. So a lot of big positivity around there. There was also a few, like, very few negative reviews of all of the reviews, and I would say the majority of them were taking it more as, like, I'm ignoring the fact that it's free and rating it based on, like, all games, you know what I mean? And they had some pretty, like, reasonable feedback around, like, navigation and, like, the map being confusing, or things not feeling totally polished, but for the very large majority of reviews, they were super, super positive. I wrote down a review, but I don't know if I want to do it.
Yeah, do it.
It was funny at the time, and now I'm like,
I'm excited to hear it. Do it.
Okay. So this review is by Annoying Crow, in all caps. It's like open world Enter the Gungeon, if that makes any sense. Too good to be free.
Your caws are so timid.
Okay, fine. If Booba Games can charge $1, you could easily charge $1 for this. It even has a Resident Evil 4 equipment management mini game. There you go.
Committing to the bit.
I had to get all the way through it. So
Yeah.
I just love that one. I thought it was really funny. And before we get into the second half of the podcast, I'll close it out with one final review. Maddie, why did the chicken cross the road?
Why?
To go to hell, literally.
To go to hell.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So, ready for the game?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's get into our first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
So my first impression is I thought the art was really good, actually, like super good. The environment was really pretty. So you start in heaven and you start walking around and talking to people. And I just thought the pixel art and the movement that they had and the textures they had in the pixel art was quite good. And I did know that it was a school project going in. So part of my first impression is like, I literally can't believe that this is a school project. And it's so good. And then my second kind of first impression section, once you actually go into hell and start playing the game, I am a controller player. I typically don't do like keyboard mouse play. And I thought the controls were maybe a little difficult for me personally. The triggers being dash and shoot was hard for me to get used to, but I didn't know what to map them to.
I love that you said that because I actually played probably like 15 minutes into the game with the keyboard and mouse, and the way that you had to do it was you had to use the shift key with your pinky to like dash. And my pinky just doesn't move that way. I don't know about y'all, but it just doesn't. Well, and so I swapped my controller and I attempted to swap the buttons around to get it to work in a way that I wanted, but I totally get why they did it at the end of the day, because you had to aim at the same time you shot. And so you needed to have both of the sticks. Yeah. And so it had to be on different hands. But what I really wanted, and I wish I would have went upstairs instead of being lazy to get like my Elite controller, is they have buttons on the back. And I think if I could have used my pointer finger button to dash on the back of my controller, it would have been perfect. It's just that the layout of the controller didn't really work. I think
have an Elite controller. This is like the perfect example of a game that would do good.
This would have been absolutely perfect.
Yes, because I tried to remap my things too, but no combination.
Fit.
Like they picked the best combinations for the things that they had.
Yeah.
And then I felt the same way about mouse and keyboard, because I was like, okay, maybe should I try this in mouse and keyboard? And then I was like, no, this is hard too for me. Yeah. And so I ended up just playing the rest of the game with the controller. But it was really fun right out the gate too. Lastly, like I'll just close with, I just thought it was a lot of fun. Like you're a chicken type bird.
Yeah, chicken bird.
Chicken bird. I think maybe a dove.
Maybe a dove.
Maybe a dove.
Yeah.
Dove chicken hybrid.
We are ambiguous
and
birds.
You're literally going to hell to slay Satan, and it's a fun concept, and the art design is all fun, and the music, right when you open the game, just like bloody hell, like it's so fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was 100% my first impression too. Like the music was rocking. I am not. I don't usually like heavy metal music. That's not my vibe. But this music got me so in the mood to like kill some demons. I was just ready right away. And I recorded myself playing this one just for fun to see if I liked it, if it was whatever. And literally I just sit there like, oh no, like bobbing my head for like 5 minutes. And I'm just sitting there like bebopping trying to get stuff set up. And it was just, the music was really fun. And I think, like you were saying, the concept of it was fun, and it actually got me thinking. So you're a cute little bird, you're in heaven, and then you get plopped into hell to murder Satan, and it made me think, like, is there a new genre now where you have really adorable things doing like real like dark gory stuff? Because I think that's real.
Yeah, like Cult of the Lamb.
Like Cult of the Lamb, or like even I thought about it, and I don't think Death's Door is exactly it, but like your little Grim Reaper bird, you know what I mean?
The crow is adorable.
Yeah, and so I wonder if this is like a thing now. It's like these really cute
cozy horror.
Yeah, cozy horror. Yeah, it's interesting. But I thought about that at first too, where I was like, ooh, we're doing cute in like this really dark environment. I thought that was really fun. And then right away I was like, oh no, this is hard.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun opening to it, and I was excited to play.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, should we get into the rest of the game after first impressions?
How about we start just like you've plopped into hell?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've plopped into hell. And again, you're this adorable little bird. The tutorial section, there's not really like a super tutorial. It's just kind of like buttons pop on screen for when you're supposed to do stuff.
Which I did think was quite good. I did note that it's nice that they had the actual buttons that you're supposed to press.
Yeah.
Because sometimes games don't do that.
I've noticed that.
So I was like, okay, student projects can do it and full-fledged games can't do it. Like,
yes.
Come on, y'all.
Yes, and I also did appreciate they put in the fact that we could swap between keyboard and controller.
Yes, the button remapping. Yeah. So many games don't have that too.
Yeah. And so
it's becoming more standard.
It's becoming more standard, but we've even played some games on this podcast where you couldn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But right away you get plopped into hell. The kind of game that it is, like we mentioned, is a bullet hell. And so you
Metroidvania. I really do think that
it's a mix of both. It's very much so a mix of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the first thing that you get is this infinitely shooting gun, and the expectation is pretty much like you're aiming with your thumb and shooting constantly
with the trigger.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah.
And
walking with the other stick.
Yeah, and 1 million enemies usually in each room that pop up with about 1.5 million bullets everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
And so
it's very bullet hell.
It's very bullet hell. And so like my kind of thoughts for the beginning, I don't know. I'm happy to talk about the combat first if you want to do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool. So my kind of thought with the combat just right out the gate is that it was kind of an interesting combination of both forgiving and unforgiving.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind of trying to think about it a little bit, where it was almost right on the border of too frustrating for me, but it never actually tossed me into that bucket. I know you might feel differently, but for me,
the very end.
I feel like it was, I'm not very good at games. Like, I am going to be like real with you, with everyone listening to this podcast. I'm not very good at games. And the fact that like I think
you're probably better than you think.
I think I'm probably exactly average.
Yeah.
But I would never say, oh my God, I can pick up a game and beat it really fast.
Yeah.
Like that's just,
Totally.
And so I do think that the difficulty level was pretty difficult for me. And I think that the accessibility feature that they had added, which I think was the aim assist, I turned it on right before actually you came over just so I could try it out after we had talked about it. And I didn't see too much of a difference. It didn't
really make too much of a difference. Yeah.
And so I would expect like it was pretty hard the whole time. But like the forgiving aspects are really interesting versus the unforgiving. So I'm going to shut up and let you actually speak. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I thought was interesting because they give you dodge. Mm-hmm. And dodge, you could like dodge through bullets.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. And if you spam dodge, then you can kind of get through particularly bullety sections. If you manage to just barely time it correctly, you can pretty much spam dodge and like avoid stuff. And so like that was a little forgiving. But on the other hand, there were so many things happening all at once that even if you were dodging a lot, sometimes you get like this super special dodge power where you could fire a laser and then you would land on a bullet when you finish the super special dodge power, and then you would die, or not die, but like lose a life. So it was kind of like that give and take I saw a lot of. Like they gave you
a super special dodge laser?
Did you not have that?
No.
Oh.
Did I do something wrong?
No.
Did you pick it up?
Maybe I picked it up.
Maybe I didn't find it.
Yeah. Maybe. But it was like when you're dodging, it could like, it pauses. Everything pauses and it's like.
Oh, the ultimate.
No, not the ultimate.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like while I was dodging, if I did this beautiful, perfect dodge, it would do a thing.
Oh, okay, that did happen to me.
Okay.
But a laser didn't shoot.
I thought that after I let go, it shot. Yeah, again, it hurt him. Did you never shoot it with a laser?
No.
Oh, Maddie.
Uh-oh.
But it would do stuff like that, and then when you dodged, you could fall off the edges and not lose a life. And
yeah, that was nice.
That was beautiful.
That was really nice.
And so it was just this back and forth. I felt constantly this push and pull of oh, that was really forgiving. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to do this. I don't know. It was both sides for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I actually didn't struggle with the difficulty until the very, very end.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that dodging has never been a strong suit of mine in gameplay. I'm decent at aiming. I'll actually do really good with a sniper, but dodging has never been my strong suit, and this game really requires you to be good at dodging in certain cases. And so I think I was fine for the most part until the very end, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But I did think that, to your point, I completely agree with it being forgiving in some ways and not forgiving in others, in a way that I understand the design choice.
Yeah. I wouldn't, it felt intentional. It didn't feel like I was running into bugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was not poor game design in any way. It was me struggling because we don't typically play these kinds of games.
No.
It was fun though.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Pork Chop, the first boss, really quick?
Yeah. No, I think, let's do it.
Okay. I think that was a really fun one to jump you straight into, and it was also not that hard for me personally. And so I was like, oh yeah, I got this. This game's gonna be easy.
You beat it in one try? Or
2.
I am so impressed. I think it took me 6 or 7 tries.
Well,
it was hard.
I just kept running.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I think I eventually did that, but I will be honest and say I forgot that dodge was a thing for the first 2 attempts, and then I was like, oh, I'm supposed to dodge, right? That's stupid of me. But I loved the character. I thought he was ridiculous.
Yes. The thing I read about the character was big old titties.
Pig old titties?
Pig old titties. Excuse me. Pig old titties.
For the folks who haven't played it, 1, it's free. You should at least go look at the pig old titties.
Yeah.
But he is this giant pig with huge pecs. Absolutely. Those are giant boobs. And I thought it was hilarious. I still don't
it was really
know,
funny.
What is the lore behind it? I guess it's that bathhouse that was killed earlier.
Pig demon.
Yeah, but I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing about that first battle, I think, was I do think the difficulty escalates as you go through, and I thought they balanced that pretty well. This first one I thought was a good intro to it, and yes, I struggled, but after I got a little bit in practice, it actually got a little bit easier for me.
Nice. Once you start, it's kind of a little linear up until you get to the first boss, and then I think the world really opens up after the pork chop boss. Yeah. And once the world opens up, there is a lot of different paths that you can take.
Yeah.
And it does the very typical Metroidvania thing where you can see things that you can't do or interact with yet, but that's there on purpose. The other thing is the upgrading system. You have a inventory management where it's like Tetris.
Yeah.
And you have a certain amount of squares, and you fit little upgrades that are shaped in a certain way into your tiles, like your backpack.
I was really delighted by that.
Yes.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too. And you can unlock or purchase more slots for your inventory and upgrades that you can have. And the purchasing system is based off of demon bones. So when you kill a demon thing in hell, most of the time they have bones, and you collect the bones, and that's the currency. And then you buy the upgrades from your little salamander guy.
Yeah. Which, is there multiple salamander guys? Or
Oh, I thought it was just one.
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I thought it was one guy.
Well, so the shopping aspect was kind of interesting because the first shop that you see is actually in heaven.
Yeah.
And you can't buy anything then because you don't got no
You
bones.
don't got no bones.
You got no bones. And so when you run into him at the bottom, I thought it was the same guy, but then later on you find a few different stores, and some of them
they're different colors.
They're different colors, and they have different vibes. And so I'm like, are these just salamander store
Siblings?
people? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're just inventing lore.
I thought
for
it
this
was all
game.
the same. Yeah. I thought it was all the same guy.
You don't have to purchase those upgrades. A lot of them you actually find during the exploration portion.
Yeah.
And I like that you...
A good amount. I didn't find that many. I think you found more than I did.
Lot.
You did a lot better at the exploration than I did.
I am the world's biggest fan of let me press on every single wall to figure out. So it was so funny, a mild tangent, but when I played Celeste, you've played Celeste.
Yeah.
There are so many hidden, fake walls in there. And so I had started playing it, and Chris was watching over my shoulder, and he was like, just know there are hidden things. And I was like, babe, I've been playing this game for 20 minutes. I've already found 3 of them.
Nice.
Because all I did was be like, there's a weird glitch on that wall. It must move. And so I thought that the system that they had in this game for, that discovery was actually super, super delightful. And one of the things that I had written down, one of the things that I had written down was that they had a lot of moments that were fun aha moments. So it wasn't just there's this big black section with a path leading into it. You can walk into it and ding, 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 there's an extra room. There's also full hidden laboratories with extra fights. There are totally fake walls.
Yes, walls. You just walk into the wall.
You just walk through the walls, which was really fun. And then my favorite...
And there wasn't a hint.
There was not a hint.
Yeah.
If you sit there and look at it, it does look a little off. A little bit. But that's not how I found it. I found it because I had went the wrong direction, and then I ran into the wall and it opened, and I was like... and that was super fun. And then, my favorite aha moment was realizing, again, this was probably me just being an idiot, but they had platforms diagonally in weird places. And you can't really notice them because if you're standing along the edge, it doesn't look like there's a platform to jump over there because you have to go down and then left in order to get there, to do a double jump. And when I realized, I was like, that looks like a platform, and I hear a chicken cluck. I'm like, do it. So we didn't mention it. You're trying to find secret chickens the whole time, which was literally my only goal. I didn't care about everything else. I was like, must find.
Well, okay. Can we talk about that really quick?
Yes.
Because one of the big side quests, or the only side quest that you can do, is in heaven. There's a mama chicken, and she's like, "Please rescue my babies." Was it with a Z or something?
I don't remember.
I just thought it was really cute and really
adorable.
funny. And so throughout hell, you find 18 baby chickens.
19.
Oh.
There's a secret 19th.
Wow. Bridget did this game better than me.
I never actually found all 19 chickens.
Okay.
I just looked it up later because I was like, I didn't look up where all the chickens were, but I wanted to see what the reward was for getting all the chickens, which is an egg, which is hilarious to me.
Nice.
But there was a total of 19 chickens, and I'll probably go and finish it to find all of them because it was so fun playing it. I would literally be playing it and I'd hear clock, 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 and I'd be like, there's a chicken.
It's somewhere.
And sometimes it's diagonal, and then you double jump over there and you're like, oh my god.
That's awesome.
So I really loved the exploration. I thought they did a really excellent job with that part, and it was so many little aha moments I really enjoyed, especially for how small the map was. It wasn't super, super, super tiny, but it was 5 bosses. I can't remember how many. And with what felt like it was going to be limited, here's a door, I have to choose between door A and B. There was so much exploration. I really enjoyed it.
The main point of the game is you're going around defeating bosses and enemies, upgrading your chicken with the ultimate goal of finding Satan. You don't know where Satan is.
Yeah.
So you're following all these different paths to eventually lead to Satan. Do you want to talk about the next 2 bosses that you run into? Or how do you want to do it?
Sure. And we can talk about the little chicken that we run into.
Yeah. So the next boss that you run into is a boss that is a boss in the floor. It was like on the floor.
What?
It's like in the floor. Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
It's like on the floor. It's like on the floor.
You're like, I literally have no other words to describe this to you.
I don't know how to describe it.
I remember it as like
she
an
takes
eyeball
up
with
the
a
whole
diamond.
Floor.
You're right. Yeah, she does take up the whole floor. I don't know what in my head I imagined there. I thought it was maybe like a weird swirly pit.
Yeah.
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 Floor.
Floor.
On the floor. And there's little carts that are going around
I
her.
love that. Yeah.
Which I really loved. And I also didn't think she was too hard.
She's the easiest boss for
Yeah,
me.
she was the easiest boss to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think because you could hop into those carts to avoid the things. And then once I realized that you could do the other gameplay thing that we didn't mention is you have like a more powerful laser attack if you press and hold one of your bumpers. But it takes longer, so it has to, like, you press and hold and it's like bink, 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 so it's fully charged.
Yeah.
And then you can fire it. And once I realized that you could fire it pretty easily at Maggie, like I got her pretty fast.
Yeah. I think the laser for me was actually a harder one to navigate because, you know, it's a bullet hell. There's things happening constantly.
And it takes time.
It takes time. And almost every single time I had a moment, I healed.
Yeah.
I didn't laser. And so I only used the laser when it was super clear that like, oh, a part of the pattern of this boss is they're going to pause for a second. So I have time for the laser.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't really use it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the healing mechanic really quickly and health and how health works in this game is you have little anatomical hearts and a skull that eats guts and stuff.
And hearts.
and hearts. And your health is those hearts. And when you get hit once, you lose a heart. And so it's very Zelda in that way. And one hit is one heart.
Yeah.
And you have 4 hearts to start with.
3.
Oh, 3 hearts to start with. And as you go through the game, the other thing that you can find is what's called cursed hearts. And you pick up a cursed heart and then you can buy a medicine from the merchant to make it not cursed, and then it adds to your health. So
can I ask you a very real question?
Yeah.
I need to figure out if I'm an idiot or not. Did you find any of the other like medicine pills?
So
I
you
did
have
eventually,
the one,
but
you have the one that you can buy from the merchant in hell.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until the end when I had picked up an additional 2, so I had 6, and I was only using 4 of my hearts at the very end, and I had 2 cursed hearts, and I was like, wow, and I checked all of the different merchants that I had found, and I was like, I can't find it, so I went back to heaven, and then you can see a little hidden situation behind a goose figure, and you have to dash to it, and then that's where you unlock the hearts.
Yes.
Did you find that?
I did. It was, so I had went through pretty much the whole game till the final boss, and I was sitting with 4 extra dead hearts, like cursed hearts.
Oh, you had 4 cursed hearts.
And I think there's probably
wow, you really did find so much more stuff than me.
I just love that exploration. That's what I'm here for. The 4 that I had found, I was just staring at them for so much of the game, and I was like, I can't believe that I haven't found like the things that wake these up. And I did the same thing. I was like, maybe the people regenerate after I buy everything. So I bought a second item somewhere to make sure it was empty to see if it like came, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And I was so confused, and I got to the final boss, and it was way too hard to beat with the number of hearts that I had. And so I began wandering around again, and then I finally found the stuff in heaven as more of like, I wasn't even looking for it at that point. I was just digging around.
What's gonna happen if I dash?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
way?
Yeah, and then I found it, and so while it was like, oh, it's fun that it was hidden, I think it was almost too hard to find because I didn't really have a need to go back to heaven most of the time. And I wished that I would have been able to find it sooner because I'm glad that I found it. Don't get me wrong. But when I found it at the end with 4 pills, it's like they increase in price. So it's 100, 200, 300, 4. And you lose half of your bones every time you die, and I was poor.
Yeah.
I was a poor motherfucker
Yeah.
at that point, and so I had to grind to get enough for the first 2 hearts, and then I never actually healed the second 2.
Yeah, I did want to talk about that as a closing, like, of the mechanics. When you die, you lose half your bones, and I thought that was quite brutal.
It was brutal. That was one of the unforgiving pieces.
Yeah, because you die a lot.
Yeah.
Or I died a lot.
I died a lot, yeah.
And I almost never had money to buy things. I think I was kind of always running with, like, 40 bones.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't until the very end where you get to the section at the end and you can kind of grind a little bit where the
because
characters
they have so
are
many bones
dropping more bones, and that's when I was able to unlock the 2 additional hearts. But yeah. And after Maggie and the kind of the pieces that we're talking about now, that's when I did write in my notes, like, oh wow, this game is actually quite hard.
Yeah.
Because that's when I started to feel it was after
Maggie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the other thing I'll say about the death pieces, not just you lose bones, but also they do the thing where you respawn at, like, your last save point. So the save aspect of the game is you have crosses at different points of the map, and you can set those, like, activate them, and then you can go back to those at any time. But the way that it kind of worked was when you died, you had to go back to that nearest, like, cross point. And sometimes those, like, big baddies or those rooms that were extra difficult were pretty far away from those cross points. And so I'll say, like, that was a little bit tougher for me to, like, deal with as somebody who lost.
Because the other thing is the enemies respawn too.
Yes, the enemies respawn. So there were some rooms where I swear to God, I was like, these stupid little fucking pigs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but and so I will say that was, like, a little bit rougher to try to get through when I was doing really, really bad at some of the bosses. And I think most of them were pretty okay placed, but there were a couple of them when I was doing, like, the hidden laboratories where I'm like, oh my God, this is a trek. But yeah.
Yeah, the hidden laboratories were a trek.
But I loved them.
So the other thing that's happening is every time you meet a boss, you run into a little fellow bird friend who was also sent to hell to kill Satan.
Yeah, which is a little rude. Like, God doesn't trust me that he's going to send a second little bird.
Rude.
Yeah, like, what is that?
Well, I feel like what I got the feeling is he was sent first.
Oh, and then couldn't do it.
He was always there first.
Good point.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll let you do it for practice.
Yeah.
Like, okay, buddy.
Yeah. And I liked him, and he's kind of your little friend, and when you talk to him, he's like, oh, I'll let you defeat this boss because I'm, being a good person, and you're gonna get the practice.
Yeah.
I already know how to do it.
Yeah.
And after Maggie, you go into an area, and sad, he has changed sides. And he is for the other side now, and he is on Satan's team, and he starts shooting a big ass laser at
Huge
you.
Laser. I loved this part of the game.
I also really liked this part.
Yeah,
I thought it was a lot of fun.
Part.
Yeah. Okay, talk about it.
Well, no, it's not just a normal boss battle where you're in a room fighting a big baddie, right? It's this little tiny ambiguous bird on a laser, and you pretty much have to, like, traverse a set of, like, dashed, like, lily pads and other enemies that explode, and he has little rocks that the little bird can hide behind. So I was just dashing from shadow to shadow of the rocks as fast as possible to make sure that I didn't get hit by the laser.
Yeah.
And the amount of things that I was doing was both fun and satisfying. Like, it hit both of those things for me.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was talented as I did it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it makes you feel like, wow.
Look at me.
Am I better than everyone? What's that mean? Have you seen that one?
Oh my God, am I better than everybody else?
Than everyone?
It did feel that way.
Yeah.
It felt that way. okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my favorite one. I also just loved the idea that I was fighting this little chicken that backstabbed me, and I spent the whole time sassing this little chicken. Every time he showed up, I'm like, oh, of course, I'll be the boss for you, I guess.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was cute. Okay, so then after you defeat the little chicken, you go into an area. Do you want to talk about the laboratories real quick before we go to the end?
Sure, yeah.
Cool.
So the hidden okay, this is an ongoing problem with me. I keep saying the word. No, I keep saying laboratory. Like a fucking idiot. Like these laboratories.
like a literal child.
Yeah, I'm going to the laboratory. No, so they have these hidden labs.
There you go.
And these hidden labs, I only found 2. Were there more than 2?
I thought it was one big.
Oh, no, there are 2. Oh, wait, is it?
I thought it was just one big area because I found multiple entrances to it.
Okay, I think there are 2. I think you missed one.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Maddie.
Okay.
There were 2, I think. Now, it is possible that they were connected because I never tried that hard to figure out they were, but I think there were 2 pretty separate ones because there was one hidden lab in the beginning of the game, and there was a hidden lab after and around the Maggie area.
Okay.
So there were 2 I found in those areas. There might have been more other places that I couldn't find. But the hidden labs were so fun. I am the biggest fan of weird science experiment lore. Like, anytime a game is just like, and there were science experiments, I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I love that. I wish that they would have had more of a story to it so that I could have understood it a little bit more. But I mean, like, it's Satan. He's just doing weird experiments on pig demons.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Probably to get them these weird powers. I don't know. But it was really fun. And in it, it's mostly just a bunch of, like, bones. Like, there's bones everywhere to collect. And then there are sections that are pretty hard to defeat in each of the labs of just, like, a ton of, like, waves of spawning enemies that are pretty rough. And then if you beat them, then you end up doing things like finding chickens and getting extra powers, all that kind of fun stuff. But the hidden labs weren't the hardest to find, but they were definitely, like, pretty hidden. And when I found the first one, I was just super delighted. It was just another, like, little delight moment.
Yeah. And it's completely optional. I mean, I did find them too, but I found, like, one big area. I don't know, I guess.
Did you find the one where you had that secret wall one that was a fake wall?
I don't remember how I found them. Okay. I found, like, 2... I did find, like, 2 different parts of it. And then when you opened the map, it expanded, like, all the way to the end.
Okay, yeah. So there was one earlier than that. That was pretty small. Like, it was a lot smaller.
Okay.
And that was, I
think I found that one too, because I remember I found 2 different areas. I just thought they were the same.
Connected. Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I really enjoyed it.
And the map was, to be fair, a little hard to read.
Yes, yeah. I did have...
I'm glad they had it, but it wasn't...
Yeah, it wasn't the most obvious, like, where you were and where other things were. And there were some symbols on there that didn't have, like, a key, so I didn't know what the symbols meant on them necessarily. Yeah. And, like, I got through and it was fine, but this game is also a little bit of a maze. In some of the sections, like,
totally.
It was done on purpose, I think, for exploration. There are some areas where, like, oh crap, which way do I need to go in order to get to the place that I just was, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
into the
abyss.
Bowels of hell.
Into the abyss. So I think the main thing that I did right here is I thought the abyss was the coolest area. I thought the design of it was quite good. It's, like, black, and the background has got, like, purple sparkly, not sparkly, but, like, star type things, and the enemies are now kind of glowy neon. So this was, like, my favorite aesthetically, I guess.
It was like a glowy mystery cave thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is obviously the lead up. You kind of know that this is the lead up to fighting Satan, and the enemies are harder.
Oh my gosh,
and they
they're
can
so hard.
Teleport, but they also put off more bones, which is nice. And that's when I started being able to actually grind, because there was enough checkpoints for me that I could, like, rush to a checkpoint after getting a certain amount of bones without dying first.
Yeah.
Well, there was a point in time where I had 400 saved up to unlock a cursed heart, and then I died. And I was like,
so sad.
no.
That's so sad. That's actually how I realized the bones were halved, because I thought I had a lot more after going through one of the labs, or I don't know, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made it back to the abyss, and which is like fall down a big waterfall. I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I made it back there, and I started in it not knowing that it was so hard. And I died, and my bones went all the way down. Like, I think I had over 500, and they, cut in half. And I was like, did I lose that many? I thought I had so many bones. And that's when I realized it was half. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. So it's like really brutal when you have a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to Satan.
Wait, pre-Satan.
Pre-Satan.
Because
okay.
I have a thing to say.
Okay.
Pre-Satan. So in this abyss, these enemies are hard, okay? They're hard enemies. And you have, similar to the rest of the game, you have 2 paths that you can take to get to the same point.
Yeah.
I tried both paths. Both paths are hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I would argue that the left side is easier.
Oh, really? I thought the right side was easier.
Oh, well, there you go. Good luck. Play for yourself and figure
it out.
I died so many times on the right side, and I finally made it through on the left, like, pretty consistently. And when I say pretty consistently, it's because at the end of these 2 long tunnels, you end up with more pork chops. So
yes.
The big pigs with the pig old
titties.
Yeah. they God damn it. There were 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so one, it was kind of fun because I could see how far I've come. Like, I could beat 2 at once, which was kind of like a fun moment for me.
Yeah.
But also, I died as those pigs multiple times, and getting through the enemies to get there.
All the way through again.
Yeah, and it's a lot of different rooms, and those enemies are really freaking hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was about the time where I was like, I've got to go revive these hearts because I can't even make it through this.
Got it.
And so I will say that while the Abyss I thought was themed really well, that was where for me it started getting hard. And I don't know if I was good enough at that point. I think I should have upgraded more before I tried it so many times.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The problem is I knew I needed to upgrade, but I could never hold on to enough bones.
Oh.
Like, I really couldn't. Like, I just kept dying, and so I kept losing the bones. Like, I just couldn't hold on to the amount of bones I needed. Got no bones. I got no bones.
But then we get to Satan.
And then you get to Satan. And this is where I'm taking a hard L. I'm going to play, like, a soundbite or something.
Violin.
Yeah. So, I tried Satan over the course of yesterday and today.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not beat him.
That's so sad.
That's why we're playing so late, because I was trying to beat Satan before we came to record.
So, my secret, Maddie.
Oh, this is when your secret pops up?
This is where my secret pops up, which is I had beaten Satan, and then there was a second surprise boss afterwards. Yeah. And we'll talk you guys through the story, too, so you can get a little bit of the story of why there's a second boss. But there's a second boss afterwards after Satan, and I couldn't beat it. I played it, I think, 2 or 3 days, and I couldn't beat it. And yesterday, I gave up, and I watched a video instead of finishing it. And today, Maddie was texting me multiple times, traumatized, about her inability to beat Satan. And I was like, well, if she's not doing it, then I gotta do it. And like while you were finishing trying to beat Satan, I beat the final boss today, like an hour before this podcast. So your time was not for naught. Your time was not for naught.
And you say you're not good at games. I'm so impressed.
It was really, really tough for me. I saw some reviews where people were like, final boss is too easy. Y'all are liars. Y'all are liars.
I am going to beat Satan. I will say I'm not giving up. I just ran out of time before we were recording, but I'm going to beat Satan.
Yeah.
Hi y'all, Maddie here from the future. I'm happy to report that I have beaten Satan at the time of editing this podcast. So, yay me. Okay, bye.
Do you want to talk about Satan's little tragic story?
Yes, okay. Let's talk about it.
I would like you to talk about it because I'm not good at reading dialogue boxes.
Okay. You skip dialogue. That's right.
And
Just
I was like,
I mute things, you skip dialogue. So before you go into the room that Satan is in, you meet your little bird friend again. And your bird friend says something kind of ominous, like everything isn't as it seems. And they also give you a warning of, just so you know, once you go in here, there's no turning back. So make sure you have all of your upgrades, whatever. Very classic, like final boss type of dialogue. But you get hints that, like, it isn't all that it seems. And then you go in and it's actually quite, like, sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
It's quite sad. And Satan talks about how he was banished and he wasn't trying to, like, he's like, I just want to do my own thing and people keep trying to come kill me. And are you crying?
No.
It is really sad. You kind of look like
I think you're projecting.
Cry.
Are you crying?
No, but Satan was crying.
Yeah, he was crying.
Satan was crying.
I thought it was interesting,
and it makes you think.
Well, it's. I don't know if the developers are religious or not, but that is actually pretty, like, from what I know and remember from my Midwestern years, like, is pretty accurate. Like, Satan was an angel and he was banished by God to, like, go to hell because he wanted to do his own thing and not follow, like, God's path or whatever. And it was kind of fun to see that come to life here at the end. That was fun. I liked it. I like that it was accurate to religion-ish, you know.
Yeah. The other thing that you start getting a hint of is when you talk to your little bird, he also mentions, like, there's something wrong with the eyes that are everywhere. And so the first time you talk to God, it's just a big eye.
Yeah.
And then throughout, as you're going through hell, there's actually eyes everywhere.
There are eyes everywhere?
You didn't notice that?
No. Where were
all over the walls and, like...
Oh, okay. I do
There's,
remember
like, times where you can shoot
right,
them.
The doors.
You can shoot them.
The doors.
Yeah, but there's
eyes.
also times that they're just, like, on the walls. You don't shoot them.
I guess you're right. Okay, okay, I do remember that. Okay, I'm back.
And so and your little bird is like, there's eyes everywhere, and I don't think that's Satan.
Oh my God, those were God's eyes.
Yeah.
I never got that. I just thought it was monstery. Oh,
it's because you skipped dialogue.
It's because I skipped dialogue. Oh.
And and so
cool.
Satan is like, well, fine, if you're coming to get me, I guess I'm gonna fight back, right? Like,
which vibe I would too.
Yeah. And you start the hardest fight. For me.
I think it was the hardest fight. I do think it was harder than the final boss, but I still think the final boss was really, really hard.
I have things to share about Satan, but maybe you should go first.
The only thing that I have to say about the final boss of Satan is more around the difficulty and the gameplay itself for it. So at this point, we haven't really talked about it yet. I don't know if you noticed. You probably did. But similar to a lot of games, like pretty much any game that requires you to dodge, most of the characters and the bosses that you fight have tells, right? Of, hey, he's winding up, so now's your time to go in and stab and then dodge away or whatever. And the thing about the way that they implemented the bosses is there were set, like, groups of things, like, oh, he's gonna shoot lasers out of his eyeballs now or something. And so you know, like, oh, lasers are coming, I need to behave in a certain way. But they were randomized. So it wasn't like...
And they were combined.
And so it wasn't like laser first, then the whatever next phase, and then the next phase. It was like each boss had a certain set of moves that they had, and they would both do them individually and overlapping of themselves. And some of the phases that they had were much harder than others to dodge. And because of the random nature of it, if you get two combinations of really impossibly hard ones, it was just like almost insta-death for me.
I felt like I was running into that a lot.
Yeah, and what I noticed that about like halfway through my attempts with Satan, because I had gotten to the point where he literally had like the babiest amount of health
I did
left.
too,
And
multiple times.
I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting it. And I got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably tried to fight him another 6 times after that, because the next few attempts I had those weird overlaps of like, oh my God, I don't remember it being this hard. Like, wow, that was really tough, and dying like super, super fast. And so that was my biggest, like, playing the Satan piece. Like, the other ones did the same thing the other bosses did, but it was less brutal, and so I noticed less. And in Satan, I was like, oh my gosh, these are random and I can't prepare for this, and sometimes I just get effed.
Yeah. That was my biggest thing with the Satan boss is what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Where I particularly, what was challenging is when there was a ton of different lasers. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. like where it wasn't just one laser. It was like
a ton everywhere. Yeah.
So I would get that, and then
the dots everywhere.
Like the dots everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, I literally can't dodge anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was getting that consistently, and that's why I just kept dying.
My my OP strat for people who've never played before, dodge off the edges anytime that happens to you. Because when you dodge off the edges,
you don't die.
You don't die, and you get a moment of being able to avoid a thing that was coming immediately at you if there was no other place to dodge. Mm-hmm. And the amount of times I did that for Satan was so high. I was like, nope, I can't survive this. Off the ledge. When I get back home. Off the ledge.
Off the ledge for me. I was like so close. Yeah. And I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. And then I died, and then I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then the next couple attempts, like, I just kept getting this like insane laser bullet hell combo that I could not dodge. Yeah. I'll try the dodging off the edge thing. I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
So
for what it's worth, what I will say is the amount of attempts that I had were very high for Satan, and when I beat it, it was euphoria.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's that type of thing.
It was that type of thing, mm-hmm. And so if you're a gamer and that's like what you thrive off of, is failing a million times and then having that one success, like, I felt like it hit that for me for sure. Yeah. Like, it was a very euphoric moment, and when we get into the second boss, I did actually almost cry at the end when I beat it, because I had tried for so long to beat it, and I was so emotional. I was like,
I did it.
So you beat Satan. You kill him. You have murdered Satan, who is just trying to hang out by himself, and you did it because God told you to, which I'm sure there's an interesting story in there somewhere. And then you go back to heaven, but heaven is kind of like chaos now. Heaven looks pretty much like hell.
Yep.
And you walk up to the pearly gates, which you had been in at the beginning of the game, to go find God. And you're like, God, what's up? And he's like, rah, rah. And he now is a giant eye with a giant, big, muscly God body.
I did write that the design was pretty dope. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. And he pretty much says, like, he's having a psychological break, like, in my opinion, where he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I killed Satan. That's ridiculous. Like, how could I do that? And he's having, like, a meltdown, and then he blames you for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're the one who did this to me, and you're the one who killed him, and I can't believe you. And then he goes to kill you instead. So, like, God has this, like, meltdown. And then you fight him. And the battle was similar-ish to the Satan one, where you would get different waves of different things, and it would be randomized. The problem that I had with the God, and why I eventually, like, quit and then came back a few days later and then quit and then came back again today, was because Satan was so hard and I felt so accomplished at the end of it. I was like, I am actually good at video games. Look at me. And then I thought that was over. I thought it was the end. And when I get faced with God, I felt so defeated for a moment, because I was like, oh my God, I didn't do it. And this one's going to be harder. Do you get to
restart at God? Or do you have to fight Satan again?
No.
Oh, okay.
So you get to restart at God, but you don't get to do any more upgrades. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it really is your final upgrade by the time you get to Satan. And so there was a little bit of me too who was like, oh my God, I can't go back and get those hearts. Like, this is it. I've just got to do it now. I would say total, I probably tried to beat God for about an hour. across the few different days is about how long it took me to do it. And I do think that it was a little bit easier than Satan, but still tough, like still really tough. And the one tip that I'll give to y'all is that at some point, God has this ability where he puts a whole box of bullets around you. And then the bullets fly like left, right, up, down, pretty much. And y'all are probably smarter than me and noticed it right away. Maddie will probably walk in and be like, Bridget, come on. But I died on that one so many times because I thought it was random. Like, I thought it was just like a random direction. And the ones that come from the bottom, I couldn't see because I was up near the top shooting God. And so I would get hit by the bottom bar almost every time. And then literally today, while I was attempting to beat it, like after I figured that out, I think it only took me 2 more turns, is God winds up and moves his arm in the direction that he's going to throw the bullets, but they're like kind of subtle movements because he's making movements the whole time with his big arms. But he's flexing. And so I just thought he was like moving and like an idiot, I didn't think about like, oh, he's flexing up because the bullets are going up and he's flexing down because the bullets are going down. And once I figured that out, that was really nice. But I would say definitely as you play, like pay attention to the movements of the boss. I know if you play genres like this or Dark Souls or whatever, like you're probably used to that. And I feel like I'm used to it, but I still didn't notice that one. So, But then you kill God. And then you kill God. And then you become God.
Yes. And it's like a Mighty Duck character.
Yes. I loved that so much. It was not what I was expecting. But yes, you become God.
Have you ever watched Regular Show?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know when the baby ducks become the big duck?
Oh God, I don't remember that part.
Oh, that's just what it made me think of.
You'll have to send
the character design. I'll send it to you.
I do see character design, but yeah, so you become God, which is a super super fun ending, and you're done. Yeah, you finish it out.
Yay! Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. So for me, I thought that it was the most gamey game that we've played so far. And I liked that. There were a few quality of life things that I wish existed. In order to transport to different cross save points, you have to go back to heaven and then jump back to hell. So like there were little things like that where I was like, quality of life pieces I would love to see. But I mean, these devs released it for free. It didn't stop me from enjoying the game. And on top of that, even with some of those quality of life things, I really, really thought the game design was actually really good and really fun. Like the exploration, I know I said a lot about it, but I really loved the exploration. And I thought that the levels were really well designed. And then the very like last little bit was I did want to throw my controller a few times. But the euphoria that I felt when I finally beat them was really fun. And the game definitely should not be free.
Need to charge.
So what are your final thoughts?
Well, no, what's your...
my rating.
Yeah, what's your rating?
So I chose...
And do you recommend it?
Yes, so I do recommend it. I mean, it's free, guys, and I don't know that I have ever played a free game that wasn't like a paid free game, you know? Like one of those, you know, shenanigans that have a ton of microtransactions. Like it is legitimately just free. And honestly, one of the most high quality free games that I've played. So it was really well done. I would definitely recommend it. I waffled between 3 and 4, and I think I ended up on 4 because I beat God today. And I would say that 4 is definitely based on the fact that like I'm taking into account that it's a shorter game, that it was made to be short, that it was like very much so a free like packaged game, but the fun that I had was way more than the expectations than I expected. And overall, I would say if you enjoy a challenge, if you like those moments where your blood is pumping and you're feeling like really like up in high gear and oh my god, then I would say yes, definitely play this one. And it is a short game, so be prepared for that. We mentioned it earlier, but it's like 4 to 5 hours.
I mean, I've been playing it for like 6, but...
Unless you're Maddie.
And bad. Bad at it.
Baddy?
Baddy. I'm just a baddie.
So what do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought the art was probably like my favorite thing, and it was a lot of fun. For me personally, like weirdly, the difficulty ramped up like right at Satan. I didn't have a ton of trouble before that. it was really just the combination of attacks. So I'm going to get back at it when, like,
I believe in you.
After this podcast, and I am going to beat it. But I will say I recommend it, but keep in mind, if you don't play games typically, it's going to be challenging.
It's going to be challenging, yes.
Might as well try it because it's free. If it was paid, I might be saying something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just because of that, even though it was super fun, a 3 out of 5 chickens for me. Or I guess 3 out of 5 piggle titties.
Yeah. Right, maybe put that on the website.
Yeah. And I
think that's a fair rating. I think that's a fair rating. I think
but I think it's really fun, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Their strategy 100% worked, where I'm like, okay, I would definitely check out whatever game that they came with next, because honestly, for the exploration alone, I would play. And I actually did think that the gameplay and the combat was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
And I would 100% look forward to what they do next. So I definitely think that it worked.
Yeah, I mean, this was an intro. Like, this is an intro project, and they didn't have an intention of this. Like, the reason they also put it out for free is because they're not planning to support it. Like, like with bug fixes and I mean, they've been doing some bug fixes, but they're not planning to, like,
it's not a lifetime.
Fully support it going forward because it was a project for them. But they want to use the learnings from this to build their next game together. And so I'm really excited to see, like, if this is their
first
unpolished game, their polished game is going to be probably pretty incredible. And so I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on, pun intended.
Yeah, me too. I really am. And I am glad that we picked this game. It was a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Same.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I also am really glad that we picked it. So, okay. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and rate it. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Baddy Breakdowns, and visit our website, baddybreakdowns.com, made by the lovely Bridget Keene. The podcast art was done by Tanisha Vernikar, and it was edited by me, Maddie Wisnat. Join us next time to hear us two baddies break down Coral Island, which... Fun thing about this, it's our first listener request ever, which is really fun for us.
I'm literally dying.
So Nikki messaged us on Instagram and said that she thinks that it would be a really good game for us to play and talk about, so...
And I'm, like, the world's biggest fan of Stardew Valley, so I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm so ready. I'm really excited to give it a play.
Yes.
That was a weird thing to say. I'm really excited to play it.
I'm just excited to rank the significant others that I can date on a scale. I'm ready for that. So you be ready for your ranking. Yes, I am.
Awesome. Okay. Bye, guys.